stands tall. Enemies vanquished. Duty done on the battlefield. And the greatest riches on earth at its feet. More than half the world's oil. 2/3 of its gold. And the talents of 140 million people ready to build modern America. We are pioneers and trailblazers. We fight for freedom. We transform our dreams into the truth. Our struggles will become a nation. Post-war America will be turbulent, dynamic, and overwhelming. More change and more progress than in the last 400 years put together. But some things haven't changed. American courage, vision, and determination will always shape the nation. The character of the country and its people, forged in the past, drives the story forward. The USA has ended World War II a superpower. Its economy turbocharged. Primed to construct the future. The greatest generation is ready for peacetime. Their ambition knows no limits. The average American family already earns 15 times more than they do in Europe. The USA hums with economic potential.
This was the greatest moment of collective inebriation in all of American history. This country was giddy with the sense of accomplishment, pride, prospects for the future.
America's future looks bright. Invention and innovation have always been the things that bind its people together. But America's sheer size threatens to pull it apart. The landmass is 9 million square miles, and the road system isn't working.
And then you saw this vast wilderness in front of you, and what am I going to do with this?
The older highways, the white shield highways, would go across the country, and then when it came to a town, it became the main street of every town. And there was always bottlenecks.
It's almost impossible to get around by car. Only half of the roads are even paved. Eisenhower, the new president, has seen it for himself. As a young soldier, he drove across the nation. It took 62 days. America has faced this problem before: how to move people and goods across its great expanse. Each generation has come up with its own solution. The rivers were America's first highways. 1811, the paddle steamer is launched, taking goods upriver as well as down, opening up the Mississippi to more trade. The Erie Canal is America's next great conveyor belt of commerce. 1825, it links the eastern seaboard to the Great Lakes. Like the steamboats, it spawns cities along its route. The canal transforms New York into a boom town that quadruples in size. Now it's time to get America's roads working like the canals and rivers before them, to get the country moving again. And President Eisenhower makes it his mission to get the job done.
He started looking at the development of this country in the 50s, and he really saw the vision of what the interstate highway system could do. And it was amazing. It changed America.
There's a common theme to the greatest innovations in American history, and that is these were things that helped people or goods or ideas travel about more freely.
The Interstate Highway becomes the biggest engineering project in American history. It cost the nation $129 billion. 2.4 billion man-hours of hard work. And just like the railroads a century before, it's built with manual labor and sheer grit. America's landscape has been shaped by transportation. The Transcontinental Railway opened up 500 million acres of land and 8 new states. 200,000 miles of track hewn out of hostile terrain. Faced with a mountain, find an inventive way of blowing it up. Nitroglycerin, black powder, dynamite. The interstate is the largest earth-moving project in the history of the world. 1.5 million tons of explosives. 42 billion cubic yards of earth removed. Enough to fill more than 8 million football stadiums.
We can build anything we damn well please. We're going to go about it. And it did change the country.
The freeways, the interstate highway system. You could connect the cities in a way that no one had seen before, on a level no one had seen before.
Today, there are 46,876 miles of interstate highways. Enough to wrap nearly twice around the world. And the journey that once took Eisenhower 62 grueling days, now it can be done in 4. Those with the means can take to the road.
There was nothing that could stop a person from being what they wanted, going where they wanted, doing what they wanted.
Freedom to travel where you want, a freedom not to be stuck to where the trolley rails go. A freedom and a lifestyle that came with it that really celebrated that sense that the car was your ticket to personal freedom.
This is a country that will not accept being shackled. Perhaps it's because of our geography and we were able to expand at will and move wherever we wanted to.
Good roads need more cars. Bigger, faster, better. 1946. 2 million of them are manufactured in America. And that's just the beginning. It's the age of the automobile.
When I came to America, the first thing I wanted to think about, how can I get hold of a car? I didn't have enough money. So I shared with 2 friends to buy a jalopy. And I crossed the country with that. I had a love affair with cars from the very beginning. Because this method of movement that can enable you to see vast expanse of space.
From as soon as they could get their hands on one, Americans have always liked their cars. Now the whole country has fallen in love with the automobile. 1955. Americans are spending $65 billion on cars, buying 8 million of them every 12 months. By now, the USA is making 80% of the world's automobiles. More than 20,000 cars a day roll off production lines across the country. 4 times as many as the Model T at its height.
It was now a car in every driveway, maybe 2 cars in every driveway, one for mom and one for dad and maybe one for the oldest child.
We have this ideal of American life as the 2 parents, 2 children, brand new gleaming American car with fins the size of Pennsylvania coming off the rear of it.
Once Americans get into their cars, there is no going back. The interstate highways take them where they've never been before. Meaning some places get left behind.
no one really thought about how it would fundamentally change these communities. Because on Route 66, they would always say, we didn't have to travel, the world came to us. And overnight, when the ribbon cut on the interstate highway system, they were bypassing the town. And many towns died. You know, they call it death by interstate.
The interstates bypass the towns, but they lead somewhere else, to America's next invention, the suburbs. America has always used technology to overcome the challenges of its vast open spaces. Carving out the environment, building houses for its people, shaping its future.
Technology has built America. Every major development in the history of America, technology has been the center of it.
1607, 50 million trees, 9 million square miles of wilderness, 60 million bison. This is what the first settlers were faced with. Within a year of arriving at Jamestown, they had built themselves a fort, a church, and 50 houses. If America needs it, they build it. If people need housing, they will always find a way.
That is the American dream. To just create a new life for yourself, reinvent yourself, get a little patch of land somewhere, grow some crops, and be the master of your own destiny.
America is about to embark on its biggest house-building project ever.
This greatest generation and what they went through. And then came home and just went back to being civilians.
Houses have been built before, but never on this scale. 13 million over the next decade.
Because at the end of the day, I do want to go home. I want to drink a few beers, and I want to watch my football, and I want to have my backyard barbecues and celebrate the 4th of July.
And the problem to be tackled this time is the sheer scale of what's required. 1946, 330 new babies delivered every hour. That's one baby every 10 seconds. It's the baby boom, and they all need housing. 1 million acres are plowed under each year of the 1950s for housing plots. 3,000 acres a day. It's the birth of suburbia, the next innovation. Building houses outside the cities to give new families a new life. Farmland into family homes.
New York loses about 2 million people over that period. And it looks like people are just going to slowly kind of hollow out the inner city.
And they would buy a new, perhaps saltbox house in Levittown in New York, or its equivalent housing development across the country.
All of these icons of sort of 1950s domestic culture, suburban culture that begin to emerge during these years.
Levitt and Sons are family builders. They'll give their name to America's most famous post-war housing, the Levittown. Here on this Levitt and Sons construction site, they're building houses almost as fast as babies are born. One every 16 minutes. 8 a.m. trucks unload. 9:30 bathrooms arrive. 11 o'clock floors are laid. 300 windows a day. 30 baths a day. These techniques are inspired by the industrial age. 1840, Lowell Mills, Massachusetts. The manufacture of cotton is transformed by mechanized looms. 1918, Henry Ford's Detroit production line, the automobile revolution. Now, in the 1950s, America is mass-producing family homes. Levitt and Sons call it the Ford production line of house building.